You know, when I first became a TV news reporter many, many moons ago, it seems like now, one of my producers came up and said, Huddleston, don't talk too much about the numbers. You're going to lose people when you talk about the numbers. Well, guess what? I didn't listen then, and we're not listening today because this show is all about the numbers today, and for good reason, because behind each one of these numbers, we're talking about student achievement, and we're talking about students in general and what they've done to improve. I'm joined by three great administrators today. We're talking about the state report card, and we'll get to each one of these in just a second. But let me go over the big facts real quick, because JEFCOED has some very good news when it comes to the state report card this year. We have gone up from an 81 to an 82 as a district. More importantly, though, 70% of our schools have shown some sort of growth with their grades with this most recent round of testing. 6 schools now have an A. 13 schools in the district went up by a letter grade. And also, we have a number of priority schools. Our number of priority schools are down by 3 this year. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. One big thing to remember, like I talked about at the beginning, these numbers represent children being successful, and each number tells a story. I want to introduce our panel today, 3 great principals from around the district today. I'm joined first by Mr. Derrick Burney, principal of UW Clemon Elementary. Welcome today. This gentleman has gone from a 69D a year ago to a 79C, or as we were talking about on the phone the other day, well, I called to invite him to this, 1 point away from a B, too, because we're always looking ahead, always looking to keep improving. Also joined by Miss Christy Hamilton of Bryan Elementary School. Her school has the honor of being the highest scoring elementary school in JEFCOED with a 95. Congratulations to you. I know you've worked very, very hard for that. And finally, Miss Kirsten Logan Marshall of Lipscomb Elementary. In 2022, 2023, she was at an 80. Last year, 83. And this year, we are very excited to say that she is one of those 6 schools with an A. She has gone up to a 90 this year. Well done. That's a lot of work in just a couple of years right there. Thanks to each of y'all for being here today. I know y'all are very excited about this news as we are today. I'm going to kind of get you started off here with just some general questions, and then we're going to go into each one of your school's individual situations here. But just the obvious question, how'd you do it? How did your staff and your students bring up your scores so quickly at these schools and improve on scores that were already good too? Mr. Burney, I'll kind of ask you just for some general thoughts to start with.
Well, first of all, this is team effort. We had to definitely look at some data points. We identified some areas of concern. You consistently met and spoke with CNI department, school improvement department. We created a plan. We put the plan in place. We definitely saw that we needed to strengthen our tier 1 instruction, overall instruction, and focus on that tier 2, which is the small groups. And like Dr. Watkins says, that's where the magic happens. And I have interventionists, so we targeted those tier 3 students. And we just put that plan in place, and we went to work. And the plan, so it's a team effort.
Ms. Hamilton, what about you?
I think it's the hard work that the teachers have put in and the professional development. We've really dug in and kind of looked at the science of reading. All of our teachers are letters trained and made some adjustments in our instruction that way.
Kirsten?
Site is, my colleagues have just said, basically the buy-in. My teachers, accepted the challenge. 4 years ago, or 5 years ago at this point, we were slated to close, actually. And so what I told the faculty and staff that year was, if we're going to close, we're going to go out with a bang. And so I told them, too, that we're not, in my mind, because I don't want to close, I'm going to give them a reason to keep us open. And so my teachers and I got busy. We, put our heads together, came up with a plan, implemented the plan, and this is where we are today. And so it is the buy-in and the fact that the children want to learn, and the parents are very supportive as well.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, too, when you talk about the buy-in, you're really talking about changing school culture right there. And just tell me a little bit about that and what that process looks like, I guess, from an administrative standpoint, because, you all have been very gracious in giving props to your team, as you should, but you're one person, and then you have to really, I guess, rally the troops, whether it be students, teachers, whatever. Talk about that process and how you go about doing that.
Well, we celebrate small wins. We celebrate students. We celebrate teachers, celebrate staff members, the entire school. We even celebrate parents. You have events for parents to come out, and like my colleague said, it's the buy-in, and it's the small wins. And we also like to celebrate with more development, with more learning. And that's just kind of helped us to the out too.
And one thing we've tried to keep in mind is we're looking at the kids and whatever we can do to help them become better readers and mathematicians to function later as an independent, productive member of society.
My kids like learning. It's just, they constantly asking, are you coming to my class today? Are you going to teach today? So when the kids really want to learn and when the teachers have students that are soaking it up like sponges, it makes their job a lot easier. And so that's half of the battle. And so just like my colleagues have said, the small wins, we celebrate everything. I call my school Disneyland. And, when you come in, it's a warm and welcoming, inviting atmosphere, and people want to come and stay. And I encourage that. And the thing is, with my children and my parents, when they come in, word of mouth spreads fast. And so they go out in the community and talk about why they like Lipscomb so much. And so I get a huge influx of students that come from Mexico or Chile or El Salvador, etc. And they're coming to visit their families, and then they stay because at Lipscomb, pretty much everybody's there is related. And so I think what happens is, because we're a warm, welcoming, inviting atmosphere, and because we want our students to improve and grow, and the teachers have had that buy-in, and we do plan, because we meet weekly, to talk about data. We're talking all the time about the data and where we need to improve. It makes for a success story.
Celebrating the wins, you actually have used WIN as an acronym at your school. Tell us what that stands for and what it means.
It's what I need, and it's actually our universal intervention time. So we start at 8:15 every morning on time, and I play, all I do is win, win, win every morning. So the kids know over the loudspeaker, and the kids know when they hear all I do is win, 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 it comes on, we get ready to move. And so everybody in my building, I don't have intervention this, but I do have ESL teachers, my counselor, my librarian. Everybody has a group where they take students to their individual places, and they work with these kids on the deficiencies that they have in the classroom, because that is our tier 3 time in the mornings. And so we do that diligently every day.
Ms. Hamilton, I know one thing, speaking to Dr. Gonsolin, he was particularly impressed about your school, was that you guys keep a portfolio on every single child, correct? Talk about that and explain to people what a portfolio is too, because a lot of people watching this might not understand that concept.
So each student, beginning in kindergarten, or even if they're a new student that come into our school, we start a portfolio. We collect assessment, work samples, and we have a portfolio for reading and math. And in that, we've looked at the proficiency scales that the state has put out, and we looked at those critical standards, and the teachers collect work samples that show that a child is either proficient or not proficient. And I think those have made a big difference. And with the Literacy Act, we already had to have portfolios for those kids that were struggling, and we wanted it to be a team effort across the board. Everybody's got skin in the game. It's a whole team working together to make sure that our kids are achieving and moving in the right direction.
And y'all meet weekly, correct?
Twice a week. We have a grade level planning meeting on Friday, and then we have grade level meetings on Wednesday that we do any professional development or turnaround trainings or things that we need to discuss. We also have our PST meetings or MTSS meetings on Wednesday, where we discuss the progress that the kids are making, whether we need to move them to tier 3, tier 2, or take them off. So we constantly have discussions and pour into these kids about what's the next step.
Mr. Burney, I want to go to you because I mentioned the score earlier from a 69 to a 79. What people don't realize is you've only been a principal at that school for 1 year now. You did all that in a year. Your team did all that in a year. I know in January of this year, of 2024, you had a very big meeting at the school. Talk about that and kind of, because that seemed to really be the pivot point of this.
Right. So January, I wanted to make sure that all critical standards were taught before the ACAP assessment. So I got with the C&I department as well as school improvement and teachers. We met on that PE day, and we created a pacing guide that aligned with all the critical standards so that all the standards will be taught before we test. Also, we wanted to look at item specs for all the subjects on the ACAP, and each day students would have an opportunity to see those questions, to see how those questions were asked, teachers had the opportunity to make sure they're asking those DOK, the DOK questions each day so that the students can have the opportunity to hear the questions, to see the questions, to see how to drag and drop, to utilize the computer. So I think by putting that in place, gave those students an opportunity to see that test and see how those questions were asked every day and make sure all the things were taught by the time test.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about just doing just some basic, just ACAP practice tests, because I know you do that too, right, at your school?
Yes, sir. I
Yes.
that matches the standard that they necessarily.
Gotcha. Okay. And this is really for any of you guys. In terms of the coaching structure that JEFCOED has put in place, how has that changed, I guess, how you do business in your school? Because people, when they hear about coaching, they think, oh, you're bringing interventionists in to coach the kids, that type of thing. This is a different type of coaching. This is where we bring coaches in to coach the teachers on how to teach. We have very qualified teachers, but we have a saying here, you can always be better, you can always improve. Everybody's always looking to improve professionally. That's why we put so much in professional development. How big has that been in this process, I guess?
Huge for us because my teachers want coaching cycles. A lot of times you get a lot of resistance in other schools. I hear horror stories sometimes about when coaches come back and say, Ms. Logan Marshall, thank you. Because number one, I support the vision. Number two, I feel like if we're going to present or graduate a quality student from our school, we have to have that buy-in, and we have to have those teachers that are in this building that are working towards ensuring that our students are achieving at the maximum level of their potential. And so my teachers go above and beyond, actually, because they not only are receptive to the coaching cycle, they meet with the coaches on the weekends and they plan over the weekend. We're blessed to have a regional literacy specialist that is very close to our faculty as well. And so on the weekends, any given day of the week, we're on the phone talking, planning, asking questions, kind of digging more into the data, and then thinking about PD on the goes, because we do a lot of PD on the goes. We do a lot of, like I said, we do a lot of meetings in our building. And so they're constantly getting coached up and they're constantly asking to be on coaching cycles. As a matter of fact, my third grade team has asked to be on a math and reading coaching cycle for the rest of the school year because they want to make sure that they're meeting the requirements of both ANA and ALA. And so that is a lot of what we're doing here at Lipscomb Elementary School. The teachers are constantly seeking them out. And so when we have to have those designated times for admin and coaches to meet together, we have to go and hide because we're constantly being interrupted by teachers who are finding us to ask questions because they want to make sure that they are doing the right thing in the classroom by way of directing those students to academic success. And then we've also, because of what we've done with the letters training and because our coaches are very receptive to the needs of the teachers, we've changed some of the lesson plan format that we have, and the teachers are implementing the letters phonics lesson plans as well in the classrooms. And we're doing ABC boot camp in kindergarten. And to the point now, we've got little kids in kindergarten that's starting to decode in the classroom. And so that's a good thing. And then they're encoding as well. So we're doing a lot of planning, and it's purposeful, intentional planning.
Yeah, absolutely. In the remaining minutes we have here, I just kind of want to go around the table. What was your reaction, I guess? Because I know you all thought you did great and everything, but it's never... When you get that validation and you log into the portal and you can see it, what was your first thought, I guess, in this? Yeah.
I had calculated our score and was anticipating a 94, but when I saw the 96, I first lost it. And everybody in the office is kind of looking like, what is...
Yeah, because it's embargoed at that point. You have to kind of keep it to yourself. So, but Mr. Burney, what about you?
Speechless. I'm just... it just felt like the hard work paid off, and I couldn't wait to share it with my faculty and staff. And there's no words that it brought me a little anxiety. I have to be out, but I told Mr. Scott, Mohon, this, it brought me a little anxiety because now you've raised the bar. And so now we have high expectations. And I told my staff, well, I'm going to tell the staff, hey, the bar has been set. So we increased by 10, we're only increase by 10 more.
Yeah.
So that's the expect.
Yeah, I'm sure I wasn't the first one to say you're 1 point away from a B. So, yeah. So, Miss Logan Marshall, what was your reaction? I know you were excited, just knowing you a little bit. So,
I got the phone call, and I was away in Atlanta at a conference, and I was about to get ready to present when I got the phone call, and I was just like, so I know I interrupted someone else's session because I was so loud.
no.
Not me. But, and then just like Derrick just said, you got a little bit of anxiety because, okay, now that we're here and, this is where we've been aiming to be for a while, what do we do now? We can't stop. We got to go. So the train, the right trajectory, we got to continue going where we are headed because we're headed in the right direction, right? And so my first reaction was to scream. Then the next reaction was, oh, Jesus, I can't go backwards. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, I appreciate each one of y'all for what you do. Thank you so much for joining us today, too. And keep up the great work. You're all doing great work out there. Thank y'all very much for this. And when we come back, we're going to get some of our district leadership in here. I mentioned the 70% of schools that have raised their score. Obviously, that's 30%, though, that have stayed the same, or maybe even a few that have gone down. We're going to talk about that and kind of what the school improvement model is here at JEFCOED. We talk about we want to celebrate our wins, but we're also going to own our losses, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how we can continue to get better too. That's coming up right after this.
Hello, JEFCOED family. This year, we are seizing the day to shape the future. You'll see that message on our social media channels, our website, and signs around your school. But what exactly does it mean? At JEFCOED, we're all about offering numerous opportunities to our students. From our highly rated international baccalaureate school, to our signature academies, to our career tech and fine arts programs, to our elementary theme schools. But opportunities are only good if students take advantage of them and succeed. This year's theme embodies that message. We're looking to seize the day, every day, and capitalize on every opportunity in front of us. It's all in an effort to make sure our students become productive citizens and leaders that will make a difference and shape the future. It's a mindset. It's our mission. It's what we believe. Seize the day, shape the future. This is JEFCOED.
Back on Inside JEFCOED, talking about the Alabama State Report Card today, and I'm joined by two of our district leaders right now to discuss more on these numbers. Dr. Orletta Rush, Deputy Superintendent, who supervises all of our directors in the Teaching and Learning Department. Welcome. It's good to see you today. Thanks for being here. And also Mr. Scott Mohon, Director of, and I'm just going to stop on this. I'm going to let you say your title because I know it's a long one here. So go ahead and give us the full title.
Yes, I'm the Director of Assessment, Accountability, and Student Support Services.
And so when we talk about testing data, this is the man that compiles all that. He goes through it and dissects it and helps and basically does our data book every year.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
So, all right, guys. So I want to start with the good stuff here. And Dr. Rush, I'll throw it to you first. 70% of our schools went up this year. We went from an 81 to an 82 as a district. You've been around this district a long time. 70% of our schools going up, that's huge.
That is huge. That is a huge gain. This has been here over 24 years. To have more than 50% of a district this size to go up is huge. But to say 70% went up, that's astronomical. That shows that the work that we're putting in is moving in the right direction. If you do that simple math, 100 takes 70, that leaves us 30. That's a small gain to have to still try to close that gap with.
And 13 schools in the district went up by a letter grade, too. That's huge.
That is huge because thinking about the things that we've been up against and everything that I'm dealing with, the literacy law, the numeracy law, the things that have been put into place, COVID, all of that, to see that shift coming up, teacher shortage, just to see that in those areas that those schools are making those gains, that speaks volumes to what we've been doing in this district. We have those barriers, but we've overcome those barriers to be able to still produce what we need.
Scott, you get the email from the state the other day saying the test scores are in. You start going through what's going through your mind as you're going through them?
So it's always an interesting time every year. We put a year's worth of work into working with those schools, identifying improvement priorities, And so it's sort of like Christmas morning for us, where you kind of get to open up all the presents and, in our case, see the results of the work that our schools, that our administrators, teachers, and our students have been putting in. So it's always an exciting time to kind of see what the results were.
Yeah, and when you're going through them and everything, you're compiling them, and then you're sharing them with Dr. Rush over here too. What was the first thought in your mind when you saw this?
Scott probably hates this time of the year just because of me, because I'm that person. It's like on my calendar, I'm waiting because I know Dr. Gosselin is waiting as well. So it's like, okay, when? What's the moment? What's the hour? What's the time? Okay, Scott, let's get it. Okay, now we know the score. Tell me about school. I need to be able to look at the schools. Let's look at the elementary. Let's look at the middle. And I immediately go into what's next. Let's go. We got to get a plan together for the ones that didn't make it, the ones that need more improvement. What are we going to do? All of that comes in that same day. It doesn't like you celebrate that day and shift. You get like a 30-second hoorah, and it's off to the races. Let's see what we're going to do for the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the schools that have gone up, especially those by a considerable amount, and we had some of those principals just in here a second ago. Miss Logan Marshall, who brought it from a B to an A this year. Miss Hamilton, who had an A and kept it, wrote even higher in the A category. And then Mr. Burney, who took it from a D to a high C, or as we were discussing, that 1 point away from a B on there. So what's been some of the common themes that you guys have seen among those schools, those principals, that the different initiatives that have been implemented to raise those scores up?
I will say we have one of the best teaching and learning departments, and it's not where everybody in our teaching and learning departments pick their poison. It's all of ours. It's from ex-ed to career tech to elementary to secondary. We all put our best foot forward as a department within itself to see what is best. But when it comes to those schools that you spoke to today, and they just happen to all be elementary, I will say those specialists and their director, Dr. Angela Watkins, they spend more time in those buildings working with those teachers, working with those coaches, working with those principals. They are not above getting in there teaching a lesson as well to streamline what needs to be done in those classrooms. So you get firsthand experience from some of the experts in our district level to be able to provide that support to them. Those teachers aren't having to go out and look for professional development outside of our district. We're bringing that PD into their classrooms, into their buildings, to make sure that they have everything that they need to give those students the very best. So I would be willing to bet that the attention that we put in this district in the individual schools at all levels, I think that has truly made a difference in what we do and the growth that we are being able to see.
And I would just add at the school level, it begins and ends with excellent teaching. I mean, you've got to have great teachers, you've got to have great instruction, but the other two things that all of those schools, not just the ones you talked about, right, but all of our schools have shown is that it takes excellent leadership. You've got to have somebody kind of steering the ship and leading the way, but also excellent culture and climate. And particularly those schools you mentioned, excellent leadership and really, really good culture and climate at those schools.
Obviously, we're celebrating the wins today, but we don't want to dismiss the schools that we have 30% that either stayed the same or even went down some. I want each of y'all to talk about this. And Scott, I want to start with you on this because Dr. Gonson, we just came, as we're taping this, from a principal's meeting, and he discussed this. I've heard him say this before. About a couple of years he went to you and just said, we need some framework here. We need be able to say, this is the plan. All about running the plays, and talk a little bit about that conversation and what stemmed from that and what developed out of that.
So the results that we're talking about right now are really 2 or 3 years in the making. Mm-hmm. So all of this started, and in fact, it even started before that conversation with Dr. Gonson. So it started several years ago in the development of our strategic plan. So when Dr. Gonson was named superintendent and we worked on that first strategic plan, he identified continuous improvement as a significant pillar of our overall strategic plan in the district. So no matter where you are, if you're an A school, B school, C or D, we can all get better. So we kind of took that mantra, and as he mentioned this morning, a couple of years ago, he challenged us. He challenged Dr. Rush, he challenged me, if we were going to do school improvement and do it right, what would it look like? And so we started from the ground up and developed an improvement framework that talks about things like leadership, school culture and climate, obviously teaching and learning, and then human resources. How do we use our people? And so for the last couple of years, that's been the framework that we've been using to really drive our improvement work in the district. And like I said, what you're seeing now, I think, is the fruit of that 2 years of work where we've really prioritized those improvement areas.
I imagine it's probably gotten a little bit easier too over the last couple of years in terms of buy-in, once people started to see that yes, this process is working and that there have been results in this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Buy-in. I think our schools, our administrators, even our leadership teams in each school have embraced the process. They've embraced each one of those leadership and improvement domains. And in fact, you can go to every school, literally every school in our district, and every school in our district has a plan developed around that improvement framework that identifies, hey, here are those things that we're going to work on to get better.
And Dr. Rush, I know too, when you got this information the other week, it wasn't long after the schools that did fall short of where you want them to be and where we want them to be as a district. You already had the principals in here with it. I think it was like 2 days after my office is right in front of where y'all meet, and they're sitting out there. I said, what are you doing here? Well, I'm up here to meet with the school improvement team and everything. Talk about that process and just getting an early start on it too.
Well, the one thing that, like Scott said, when Dr. Donaldson challenged us, that was something that we took seriously. So we knew that in order to close the gap within our district, we had to be able to look at the good and the bad. A lot of times we automatically go to the bad and forget about the good, but we had to find a good balance. So that was one of the things that we did with school improvement, that framework. We not only wanted to be able to look at it from our lens, but we wanted an outside lens as well to look at. So we challenged schools at a particular time, looking at their data from year to year. This is what we want to be able to do and go into your school and basically do a diagnostic. But we want that diagnostic to tell us everything that we're looking for. Give us from the leadership standpoint, the teaching standpoint, the parental standpoint, the student standpoint. We interview teachers. We talk with teachers, students, parents. We get input from everything where we can get a full kind of a thesis together to be able to look at those schools. That gives them a full year going up before testing goes. So that gives them a little run to be able to go and see what they can do with the test. So when the test comes out, and if the data's not where we are, then we take both of those plans together. And what you saw us coming together to say, hey, okay, we ran the play. This is where we are. What do we need to do? One thing we do believe in school improvement, we don't wait for someone else to tell us. We immediately go to those principals and to those schools and say, let's see what we can do to look at. Let's get a plan together to move that needle a little bit further, because the longer that we linger, the longer that we don't give the attention that it needs, the more that gap grows. It is something that needs to have that attention on a daily basis. So it was a combination of all of us coming together, looking at it through different lenses, and then taking those lenses and making sure that we were finding the right prescription for those individuals.
And one thing I love about JEFCOED, it's never where you guys did this wrong and now we're coming in to fix that. It's always, it's not going great. It's not going the way we want it to go, is maybe a better way to say that. We know you're not happy with it too. What can we do together? We work in a collaborative sense here. It's not the district coming in saying, you got to do it this way. It's how can we fix this together, I guess.
I think Scott said if there's buy-in,
Yeah.
we have to have buy-in from all of our stakeholders, and you can't never have buy-in if you are being that divisive with individuals, whether it's the school, the students, the individual leaders within itself. It is very important to us at the district level to have that type of relationship where we're walking side by side with our schools instead of walking ahead or behind. That's the only way we see success can be given to us, and I think we are a testament to that for what our districts are doing.
It's about support. I mean, the only reason we exist, the only reason the central office exists is to support our schools and provide guidance and leadership and support for our administrators and those that are really out there in the trenches.
Final few minutes here. Anything else y'all want to mention? Any final thoughts, closing thoughts that you'd like to mention before we wrap up here?
I'm just extremely proud like I said, this is 24 years I've been in this district, and to see that we have had changes that come and go, but one thing we've been consistent about is working with our school and being able to be a support system for everyone at all levels. I've been at every level in this district, from a reading coach, a reading interventionist, assistant principal, but to be able to know that we are there to be able to help and support the schools, and to see the excitement as we did this morning with those principals that have come up a letter grade or just 1 point, but also to make sure that those schools know that did not achieve as they wanted to this time, that we're still here, we're going to be there. That speaks volumes to us, and it makes it better to come to work every day. It's not a job that you're coming to, you're coming to something that you love, and you're providing a strong foundation for students as they're getting ready to go in the future, because these are the kids that are for our tomorrow, so who better to give these to?
Absolutely. Scott?
Proud, as Dr. Rush said, excited for those schools, for those teachers, students, and administrators, but also hungry, like to see the direction that we're moving in, knowing already, which we do, knowing already that we're well positioned even for next year on the report card to see some more growth. Hungry. I want to see us keep moving in the right direction, and I think we will.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I know how hard both of you, because I'm around you a lot, have worked on this, and I appreciate both of y'all. I know the district appreciates both of y'all. Thank you for both of y'all for what all you do for this district. So, and let's keep talking about this. Let's do it again next year when we move up even more too. So, thanks very much, and thank you for watching Inside JEFCOED. I'm John Huddleston. We hope you have a great rest of your day.